First topic, 25 things cops say and crooks agree that you're probably doing wrong. I'm assuming this is related to crime, right? Things that are getting you in trouble?
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people are just easy targets. They make themselves an easy target, and experts, which include police and include thugs, these criminals. There was a study that was done that discussed these things with the police and with crooks, and some of the things that they suggested that we're doing wrong are making it too easy to break into our house.
Okay.
Now,
what's an example?
Well, people don't lock their doors.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You know, and it's and I've got great examples of those things that occur. We'll periodically prosecute a burglar whose MO is to go to back doors, see if it's open. If it's open, they go in and do what they're going to do, steal things, and just move on to the next one.
Let me ask you a question. Do defense attorneys use that as a defense? You know, where often we see defense attorneys trying to blame the victim for what's happened to them. Have you ever had a situation where a defense attorney said, well, you know, they left their door unlocked? I mean, is that even in the thought process?
Mostly it happens in rape cases.
Oh.
When the defense says, well, she was asking for it. Look at the way she was dressed.
They still do that?
Oh,
Today
yeah.
they still do that?
Oh, yeah. It's, so, and of course, that's just baloney because nobody's asking to get raped.
Or burglarized.
That's right.
Okay, so don't leave your door unlocked.
That's another one. What about garage shopping? You ever heard of the term garage shopping? What does that mean to you as a former police?
That's what our street thugs, that's a term they deem for basically going into people's garages and stealing things.
And why do they go into garages?
Well, because if they're left open,
that's exactly right. People leave, they leave their garage doors open.
Or they'll leave their garage door opener in their car and leave their car unlocked, or they'll leave the car outside and they'll bust the window to get to the garage door opener.
Right, those kind of things. A couple of things that people ought to be paying attention in these days of computers and telephones and all that sort of thing, and that has to do with
these days of telephones. I'm sorry, the camera person's laughing too.
Well, the camera person is none other than our own Caroline Dunn. And both Officer Don and Caroline Dunn have just punked me because that one falls into the 8-track or the tape player, that sort of thing that I use. And you know, I'm with it.
Let me ask you something. Did you order that 8-track standard in the Honda? Can you still do that? Or did they retrofit that thing? Because it's a brand new Honda with an 8-track player.
Yeah, well, I had to get it special because I didn't want all of my 8-track tapes to be out of date.
They shipped it in from the Ukraine, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We go back to topic.
Caroline, do not humor him. It just encourages him.
So, with all the technology, people are becoming victimized. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, and one of the great problems is people are using lazy passwords. What is a lazy password for you techno geeks?
That's using your dog.
Yeah.
That's one I've used in the past. Bear.
Yeah.
I don't use it anymore, obviously. I wouldn't be announcing on the radio. Kids' names, people will use that. That's a lazy password.
Or your own name.
Or just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a... And what about people this time of year that are going to be traveling? Advertising that you're not home. Most people don't do anything to make their house look occupied. So that's, you know, one of those timers that turns lights off and on. That sort of thing.
A lot of these things are what they call soft target versus hard target issues for burglars. Because you have to remember, burglars are lazy by nature, or they wouldn't be thieves.
They'd be working.
They don't want to work. So they're generally going to follow the path of least resistance. In other words, if you leave your door unlocked, that's cool for them. If you want to leave your garage open, that's good for them. If you make it very obvious that you're not home, they like that too. Don't worry. There aren't burglars that will kick your door in and take your stuff with you there. They do that, but they're less likely to do it. They want to take the target, the path of least resistance, because they're lazy people in the first place, or they wouldn't be in the business that they're in. So most of this stuff is what we call common sense. But you know, I think for a lot of people don't want to think about their personal security because it makes them think about bad things, and they choose to just sort of ignore it. And we're not saying that you should be paranoid, go around and always feel like something's going to happen to you. That's no fun. But in this day and time, especially when we're dealing with a situation where they're letting these burglars out in groves like they are out of prison, they're encouraging police officers not to arrest people who commit these so-called property crimes through their legislation. We're seeing an increase in these crimes. So now is the time that you really got to think about these simple little things to hopefully make them go somewhere else and victimize. We'd like for them to go to another city or another state and do it. But there's no sense in making yourself what they call a soft target.
The other thing the simple thing that people have a tendency to do, they leave their cars unlocked. And it's very easy for these thieves to come along and just check the car door, and if it's unlocked, they take whatever's in there. A lot of people leave their keys in their car. And furthermore, this time of year, people frequently will go out, start their car in the driveway, let it warm up. They go in the house, come back out. Oh, where's their car? It's gone.
I'll tell you something.
It's just a little, just common sense.
Really paranoid about it. Maybe you think this is too paranoid, but this whole carjacking thing scares me to death because I've seen it happen before. Like I saw a guy the other day that pulls up to the gas station. His wife is in the car, and his two kids in the back seat. They were toddlers. One's in a car seat, and he gets out of the store and goes into the store with his car running, and it didn't even look like he locked his door. So he left a running car there, moving vehicle, with his wife sitting in the passenger side and two kids in the back, where an opportunist could have just basically entered the car and drove off with them. And I mean, that freaks me out because I've seen carjackings like that before. And it's just something you don't really think about because you're going, well, no one's going to do that with my wife sitting over in the passenger side. I personally, I could care less if they take my car running in the driveway. I'd rather them not, but that I can deal with. But you need to think about that because somewhere, I promise you, there's a thug out there that would not hesitate to do that and drive off with your family because you left the car. So at the very least, make sure you lock your door if you get out, even if your wife's sitting next to you. And you probably at least need to talk to her about what she needs to do if somebody breaks the window and comes in there. In other words, don't panic. Turn that key off first thing and throw it out the window if you have to. But those are the kinds of things we don't want to think about, but it could...
So tell me, do you ever think about, every time I see something on the news about somebody walking up to you in the parking lot of Fayette Mall or some mall somewhere and said, give me all your money and your jewelry. Have you ever thought about what you'd do?
As I guess the cop in me, I probably think about that every time I walk to the car. I'm not exaggerating because I guess you're taught to be more of a tactical thinker if you're a police officer because you have to assume that you could have a problem develop from anywhere. Like for instance, I walked into a Super America one time on South Broadway in uniform, at 3 in the morning. After I walked in the door, I looked up and guess what? There was a guy with a mask on robbing the place.
Oh.
And I didn't check the building before I walked in, so now here I am. There's a dude with a gun, and here's me with a gun in a uniform. We just sort of look at each other, and he bolted out the door, thank goodness. And then the foot chase was on. But, that was stupid, tactically, of me, because, they teach us you're not supposed to park right in front of the store. You check it out before you go in, because especially for cops, because you're in a uniform. If they see you, they're going to shoot you before you know what happened. But even now that I'm retired, yeah, I think about those things, not to the point of being paranoid, but I try to have a good, what we call situational awareness, where you look at your surroundings.
Tune in to the following stations every Sunday to hear full episodes of In Touch with Ray the DA and Don Evans.